بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته, and welcome to Fiqh al-Muamalat online course. And today we are still in the contract of Murabahah, and we are still in the discussions of the price. And we have covered a few points with regard to the price, and we shall carry on the remaining points. The following points in today's sessions, we start with the point that says the contracting party may agree to settle the outstanding debt obligations by entering into a new contract that may result in a new debt obligation. This is one of the issues which is subject to debate and diversity of Sharia opinions, whether this is allowed or not allowed. And the IOP standard doesn't allow that, and we call it a form of qalbudain. But sometimes it is exercised with some conditions in the case of defaults, or in the case that the client or the customers is unable to honor the installments of the payment. So what will happen is that the contracting party will retire the facility by entering a new contract which resulted to do a new obligations, a new debt, a new schedule of payment, and so on and so forth. And normally in practice this is used tawarruq, meaning that they use tawarruq to settle and retire the facility, to save it and rescue that kind of facility from being in default, or to get into some problems of bankruptcy with the clients. So they do a commodity Murabahah transactions to retire the first facility, but this kind of a new contract and new engagements with the Sharia compliance, which is normally tawarruq is used, which result into a new obligation, a new debt, and a new obligations. And some financial institutions do this in some cases, again with some conditions and circumstances, and it is one way to rescue the facility and save the customers from being into financial distress or bankruptcy or kind of default. It is an option, it is an obligation, but if the two parties agree to do so. The other point is that in case of rescheduling the outstanding debt, the sellers of course may require some additional securities in order to secure the outstanding debt, meaning that going into a new commodity Murabahah or a new contract, it could be commodity Murabahah or otherwise. And since it's a result of a new debt, so again the sellers or the financial institution in this case has the right to request additional securities in order for the customers to satisfy the outstanding debt and obligations in the future. Again, it is based on the discussions between the two parties. What is the shortfall, how much it is needed, what kind of security is needed, and this is based on how much is the outstanding debt and how much is the tenure and how much is the installments on a monthly basis. This is subject to the discussions between the client and the customer, between the clients and the financial institutions, but as a rule, as a principle, the financial institution has the right to demand additional security for the outstanding debt. The other point we would like to add here is that in the event of default, the seller may purchase the same assets or part of it from the defaulter, who is the purchaser, in a cash at maturity, at an agreed price, mutually agreed price, and the proceeds from that transactions will be used to settle basically the outstanding debt based on the set off or the muqasa principle. This is against, as you can see, this point is more related to the rescheduling, is related to the potential default. It's related to the structuring, so how to manage that. So the point is that in the case of default, so what will happen, the seller, which is the financial institutions, basically will purchase from the defaulter the asset, and the purchase is done on a cash basis, whereby the assets will belong to the financial institutions, and the clients will get the cash. Now, that cash, which is the proceed from the exercise of purchasing the asset by the financial institutions from the defaulted purchaser, that amount will be set against the outstanding obligations of the client based on the principle of muqasa, or set off. Now, upon this acquisition of the asset by the seller or by the financial institutions, this asset will be leased out back to the a client on the basis of إجارة منتهية بالتمليك. So again, at the end of the day, the asset will goes back to the clients on a different Sharia compliance contract on a long term process. And as you can see, this is a mechanism which are normally deployed in a case of defaults, deploy in a case of financial distress, deploy in case of rescheduling to avoid putting the customer into a bankruptcy status or full recovery by the financial institutions. So mechanism of restructuring, mechanism of selling the assets to the what's so-called asset to the financial institution, proceed will be set off against the debt, then the asset will be basically leased back to the clients on musharaka, on the basis of what's so-called the إجارة منتهية بالتمليك. Let's stop here and we shall carry on the remaining discussions on the price of Murabahah in the coming session. With that, thank you very much, and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.